what's up? I'm Amin Dhillon, and welcome to my podcast. I'm sitting down with the movers and shakers and the stars to chat about life, love, business, and being a total boss. It's raw, it's candid, it's the stories behind the headlines. This is In Conversation. Rakhi Mutta is here. Rakhi, it's so good to have you here. How are you?
I'm well. Thank you so much for having me.
For those of you that are not familiar with Rakhi, you are really creating a name for yourself as a filmmaker here. And it's not just doing Anarkali, it's other short films. So when did you kind of develop that interest in filmmaking? Do you remember?
Yeah, I was super young. I remember we were living in an apartment in Malton. Mm-hmm. And my mom and my dad were watching a movie called Mughal-e-Azam. Mm-hmm. And I remember just being engulfed in this world, and it was magical. And it was that moment that I knew I wanted to be in this wonderful world and create these imaginary worlds. And that was the moment that I decided I want to be a filmmaker. Mm-hmm. And then it just kind of sat with me. And then I think I must have been like 11 years old, maybe in grade 6. And then I wrote my dad a note and my mom a note, and I said, I'm running away to this place called Bollywood and I'm gonna make films. And then they found that letter and they're like, why are you running away? Just graduate from school and then off we'll send you and you can make films. And I was like, oh, okay. Yeah. And that was it. I just had this massive love affair with films.
That's amazing. Yeah. So your parents it sounds like early on, they were supportive of anything you wanted to do?
Yes. I'm one of the blessed ones, I feel like. Yeah. There was no argument. Both my parents are artists in their own right. And so there was always art happening in my home. So I grew up and my dad would be like listening to ghazals and he would be painting my mom. He's carved my mom in wood. Both my brothers are incredible visual artists. I would say I'm like the least artistically inclined person in our family.
When you decided, okay, I'm going to finish school, when was that kind of that first step when you're like, okay, I think I fulfilled what my parents want me to do. Now I'm going to actually set out and actually start pursuing this?
Life didn't work that way.
Oh,
so,
really?
Yeah. So what ended up happening was I was in high school, and I think the dream just got further and further and further away from me. One, because I didn't see any women directors that looked anything like me, or I wasn't around the community where I felt like it would be possible. See, this was a time before cell phones and anyone could cut a film, right? Or short little clips or anything. This was a time when you really had to have a lot of money to have a video camera to even go into that field. And so I felt like it became less and less of a reality, not because my parents were like, oh, it's not a reality or you can't do it. It was more so just the things that I was seeing that really influenced that. And then also I fell in love and then was like, oh my God, there's other things to do. And so I decided at that point that I didn't want to pursue film, but what I wanted to do, which is still very much another huge love of mine, was community work. And so I chose that path instead.
It's really cool because it allows you to travel to countries that most people would never get to do. You went to India, Nepal, Kenya. I'm probably missing some countries here.
Colombia, Brazil.
Yeah, you got to do a global tour here, but it wasn't like I'm gonna be a tourist in 5-star. You were going to communities that were really just disadvantaged. Talk about that.
Yeah, I started off. It was so funny. So I was in school for community work, and then there was you could do your placements internationally. And so I didn't want to leave my boyfriend at that time because I was,
First love.
I said, And but my dad, he found out that there was an international placement, and he pushed for me to go. And so I went to England, and I worked at a women's shelter all summer. And I think after that, like, there's, you know, when they're like, oh, something bites you and you're stuck with it. And that's how I felt. And I was like, oh my God, this international work is incredible. And so then I would just look for whatever opportunities presented themselves and seize them, of course, with major support from my parents. And then I ended up in Kenya at the World Social Forum. From there, I met a woman named Jyoti, who was a Dalit who had her own organization in Bangalore. And so I just stayed connected with her, and I really wanted to go. I really wanted to go and document the work that they were doing because it was so incredible. And so then off I went, and I traveled there with who's now my best friend. She's a photographer. And yeah, like, we just went there, documented, taught them how to document themselves, their struggles, their story, their history. It's so rich. And so we did that, and then ended up in Colombia doing the same sort of work. So it was quite amazing. It changes your view on the world.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. But it's also such a huge amount of responsibility on your shoulders, because these are communities that are looking to get help, right? And to be showcased. And sometimes they're showcased in a very negative way, or the real stories or how big of a problem it is isn't coming across. So as a filmmaker, I think would be very daunting when you're like, I want to give justice to this person and really get their story out there and make people care. So what was that like as a challenge?
Well, I think that was one of the main reasons that I wanted to tell stories in that way, was really to get out of the way and to allow people to showcase their own stories. And I think that was huge for us, was like, tell your own stories and let us, with our privilege, help you in doing that. Photograph yourselves, because that's more like, and that's the thing, is like, I can tell the story of a Punjabi woman. I'm a Punjabi woman, so I can tell that story. I know it, I've lived it, I've breathed it. But if I had to tell the story of a Caucasian woman, I can't do that. I haven't walked those shoes. I don't know. That's not my experience. And so I was really, those are like fundamental values that I have. And so it was the same thing. And so, yes, you do feel pressure. You want to like help assist in the storytelling of particular communities. But I think it's just being honest in what your responsibility is, and how you can assist in doing those, if that makes sense.
It does.
Yeah.
So as you're traveling, you're going to these areas, you then also did do short films, which I had a chance to see. We talked about dating violence. I remember I saw the video for that. Mental health. For you to do those short films and release it, and I know they were viral, they were going everywhere. So what was that like when you started actually saying, I'm going to come back and I'm going to do filmmaking here and make these short films?
So I didn't start with the short films, actually. I started with 2 short documentaries. One was on honor killings, and then the other one was on senior violence, violence against seniors. And I did Anarkali first, and then
Did you really?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I did the first season of Anarkali, and then I wrote Ananki, which was directed by K-Ray, and then I wrote and directed Hanedi, which is the one that you're talking about depression. So yeah, it was kind of like the short films came after. I kind of just took the leap and did Anarkali first. Yeah.
Okay, then let's talk about Anarkali, because that is, I love this series. I've told you this every time I see, I'm like, oh my God, what's going to happen next? So Anarkali, I'd read that you had this idea years and years ago, and then it just took a little time for things to line up. So can you talk about that?
Yeah, I wrote Anarkali when I was 19, and it sat with me till I was about 34.
That's a long time.
Yeah.
What happened?
Because I just was like, how's this going to happen? Who's going to fund it? Who's going to care about that story? Why would somebody care about it? So I just kind of sat with it, and I wasn't doing film. And I think it was in doing, because I was still working in community. Like, I spent 14 years working on the front lines. And I think I was reaching the end of that journey in community work. I was burnt out. I was tired. You had lost so many students along the way. It was really painful. It was like day in, day out trauma work. There was so much vicarious trauma that I was dealing with. And you're never given the tools of self-care. We're not, unfortunately. I feel like in that work, the work is so hard. And the way the system is set up, it's not set up to take care of frontline workers. And so I was nearing its end and really needed an outlet. And although I wanted to tell stories like Canadian and Nanki at that time, what I really needed was like a very light sort of release. And that was when I revisited. It was kind of just floating around out in the world. And then I was going to go to a Sikh feminist conference that was taking place in Michigan. And one of the organizers asked me if I would pick up 2 young women. And I was like, sure. And one was K-Ray and one was Rupi Kaur. And off we went, and it was like we were long lost friends. We yapped all the way there, yapped while we were there, spent it was like an intense 24 hours.
Had you never met? Because you're all from the same area.
No.
Wow.
No,
so it took going to this conference.
Yeah, I didn't even know
Yeah.
of them. But it was just so remarkable. Their politics were amazing. They were so in sync. They had the same values of sisterhood. So it was just so remarkable. I was like, oh, these young women. And when I looked at Gideon, like Carrie, when she sat in the passenger seat, I was like, there was this sparkle in her eyes that I felt like I had lost so long ago in her love for film. And I was so amazed. And I told her, I'm like, oh my God, you're Anarkali. You are the character I wrote when I was 19. And she was so like, well, okay. And I was like, oh my God, I want to shoot it. We should turn it into a web series. And she's like, yeah, okay. Like, just so, let's just do it. And I felt like I lost that somewhere, because I used to take, like, I just used to pick up and leave. And I felt like somewhere I had lost that spontaneity.
That spark. Maybe to say, I can get this going.
Right. And then she was like, let's just shoot it. And then literally we met in November. We did some photography together for a series called The Good Indian Bride that I did, which is a photography series. And I loved working with her. And then in February, we shot the pilot for Anarkali. So quickly, we moved.
Anarkali was essentially an idea, right? How do you get it executed? That's where I think a lot of people get overwhelmed to be like, how do I execute this? So to get it off the ground, which is where I think the chunk of the work is, can you talk about that in terms of getting everyone on board? Because K-Ray, it sounds like she was like done, which by the way, she's very awesome and cool like that. But what about everyone else?
So like I always say, during the pilot, there was 23 people on set and 21 of them were Punjabi women.
Amazing. That's unheard of.
Yeah, that worked for free. In fact, the hairstylist that's done all 3 seasons of Anarkali hasn't been paid. Like at all for 3 seasons. That's not a joke. You're looking at a 28 episode shot, and she hasn't been paid. But it was just her belief in the work and the importance of the work. And I think that was it. People just got it. I think like the women that have supported me, and it's only possible because of all the people that have been involved in Anarkali, to be honest. They believed in it. I think they thought that it was super important. It's an important story to tell. And that's why they were so readily available and just wanted to help. And like, I always say, like my best friend who has nothing to do with film, she came and she held a reflector for 8 hours. They showed up on set just to help, just to do anything that they could do. And I really feel like that's just a testament to how important the work is. And so it was really just being able to explain my vision. And I think people enjoy being on set, and I think they have fun. And my set's always an open set. If anyone wants to come and just see what it's like to be on set, I'm always
I wish I'd known. I would have visited. I actually was always like, one day I'm gonna just have like a little guest role, and be like that girl just like walks in the scene or something, just because I wanted to be on set.
Yeah, and of course, and I prefer that, so I don't have to go digging around asking people if they want to be in it. People just be like, "Can I be in an article?" Oh, sure, okay, we'll just put you in there.
Yeah,
I mean, that's what it is. That's what happens when it's like it's a community. I feel like a community project, and that you just get to like write your friends in if they want to be in. Someone's like, "I want to do this. I want to say, yeah, sure, okay, cool."
I
we
love
always
that.
need extras. Yeah,
something like Anarkali comes in where it's like, oh my gosh, like there's not just one role, there's several roles, that we're showcasing our stories. I think that's where women, especially, I'm so glad to hear so many came out, because it's like, we got to support each other. So more of these stories are told that. So there are more roles, because when we all come and support each other, we all benefit.
Well, see, I've never had any challenges. I think my challenges have always been with men, never with women. I've always been surrounded by a very strong sisterhood. So I don't feel like all of my projects are very women driven and focused. So I feel like I've never had challenges with women. They've always been, like I said, my strongest supporters. And so, but it feels like a sisterhood, and it felt like a very safe environment. And that was very important for me after being on different sets and just seeing how uncomfortable I was, how uncomfortable the other women on set were. So to have a very safe environment that supported one another, that was very positive and fun at the same time, because I mean, you can't be, you know, like when people are working for free, you have to honor and respect their time. You have to honor and respect their craft and really take care of those people. And so I hope that I was able to do that. But I think that's why it was so important. And it's just fun.
Yeah.
You're working towards something together, and that feels really good.
You shoot the pilot. First of all, did you just shoot the pilot and then stop, or did you do the entire season?
No,
back
we
to back?
shot the pilot.
Okay.
And then I sat on it because I was so afraid. I'm like, everyone's going to hate it. So I sat on the pilot for months.
Like, how many months are we talking about?
I think we shot in February. I don't think we released till June, maybe August.
So you get to this point where you finally have the pilot done, and then you just...
I sit on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So talk about that, because I think that's actually very relatable.
Yeah, there's so much, like, you look at it and you'll look at everything that's wrong. Oh, the lighting's not right. This isn't right. It's not the right pace. There wasn't enough background act. And I didn't know anything. Like, they didn't go to school for film. I went to school for community work, right? And so I didn't know anything about film. How I learned about film was really like the University of Google. And so it was so funny because I had my pitch ready. I practiced it the way it's said. And then I was trying to find a cinematographer. And I had called like 11 or 13 people. And everyone had said no. No, 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 no. And then the last gentleman I called at that point, I'm like, hey, I want to shoot something that's a Sex in the City. And he was like, okay, cool. And then he asked me a whole bunch of questions. Is it cool if we shoot in 4K? Da-da-da-da-da. Okay, you send me your storybook. I did not know, like, your storyboard. I didn't know anything. So I was like, yeah, cool. And then I had to literally research what the hell is 4K?
Yeah.
And what does a storyboard even look like? And then I had to put that together and send it to him. And he taught me a lot. Mike was amazing. He taught me a lot about, like, okay, that's cool, but like what's happening in the background? And he did set design and he helped with the background. Like, he was fantastic. And he was so kind and gentle. And he was like he made everyone feel safe and comfortable. He was a fantastic and is a fantastic cinematographer. He was amazing.
Did you ever ask him what made him come on board? I'm curious about that.
I don't know. Like,
because if so many people said no, I'm wondering what was it about your pitch to him that
Well,
made
I
him
didn't
go
say
yes?
anything to him. With everyone else, I had a detailed pitch.
Yeah.
Well, this is like I was like, this is like a Sex in the City, but for brown girls. And it takes place in Brampton. It's very Brampton focused. And Brampton's, I didn't even get into that with Mike. I just said, hey, I want to shoot sort of like a Sex in the City. You don't? Like,
maybe short is better.
Yeah. And then he came on, but it was, you're hearing like 11 or 13 no's in one day. That's not easy. But then you just be persistent and you figure it out and you keep moving. And
did you have any sort of strategy in how to actually keep motivated? Because I think anyone, regardless in what line they are, you get rejected. And I think the key is always how you deal with it, because that's life. You are going to be rejected. Not everyone's going to see your vision. Not everyone's going to want to fund whatever your passion project is. How do you keep going when you keep hearing, no, you can't make this happen. No, I'm not going to help you. How did you just keep on going? Like, how did you know I will eventually get a yes? Or did you not, maybe?
No, I didn't, but I'm so stubborn. And like my dad always says, even if God came down like himself and like looked you in the face, he'd be like, no, I don't agree.
No, really?
No, I don't agree.
Okay.
So I'm like super stubborn and I'm focused. And if something's supposed to happen and I feel it in my gut, then I'll just, okay, it's not this way, then it's this way. If it's not that way, then it's another way. I don't believe in no's. I just kind of believe in you'll get there.
So I like that. And I want to make sure we clarify that, because I think we have a set way we want to do things. But I think the key to being an entrepreneur or starting anything on your own is being flexible how you get there.
And the thing I think about my personality is I always roll with the punches. I just know the end goal is we've got to release Anarkali.
Yes.
And then how we get there, I don't worry about. I'm always concerned about like what is the end goal specifically. I'm very open to that journey. So like we shot the pilot. I was scared to release it. Gideon K. Ray kept pushing it. And then we shot the Mime Thru Time. released it. That went viral.
It was everywhere.
I know. That went super viral. And then she's like, we have to release Anarkali. We've got to release Anarkali. And then I said, okay, but I wanted to have a very particular premiere launch. And I felt like people deserve, like brown bodies deserve to see themselves on like a beautiful theater and have a beautiful release. I felt like we deserve that. And I wanted them to see themselves. And so I rented out a theater. We had this beautiful premiere event, and we did that, and then we released it online, which was amazing. And then after the 3 episodes, people are like, okay, now what? And then Gideon's like, okay, now what? I'm like, I don't know. I thought we would be getting funding or something, because the pilot I paid for out of my own pocket.
Let's make sure people didn't miss that. You self-finance this.
Yeah.
Do we have an idea of how much money it took?
A lot.
Like, are we talking?
Like, I cashed in my RRSPs.
Wow.
Yeah.
So not only are you dealing with your own emotions, but now you got like a huge financial risk as well. So good for you. I like that.
And so then for season 1, like after that, I would write, because I hadn't even written the rest of I wrote the first 3 episodes, and then that was it. I didn't even know what was going to happen. And then we had to write. We directed, produced, edited each episode for season 1 every week. That was it. Like, every week doing an episode. It was so intense. And then we're like, okay, we're never doing this again. When season 1 was done. And then season 2, I wrote the entire season. We shot the entire season and then lost the footage.
What do you mean?
The hard drive was dropped and all the footage was lost.
I had no idea this happened.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. So we had shot the footage because I was leaving to go to India for 2 months. We shot it. Everything was there on the hard drive. The hard drive was dropped and all the footage was gone. They could not recover that footage.
Oh my God.
And so I was in India and I got the phone call and I was like, okay, cool. And then I changed the flight, came back early.
Wait, that was not your reaction? Probably like, a couple choice words and tears.
No, I was pretty chill.
Really?
Yeah, I was pretty chill.
All and that hard work.
I think because deep down I wasn't happy with that.
Oh,
because it felt so rushed. And I was like, oh, we gotta, here's the thing, right? Like, the more experience in front of the camera, the better. And for me, Anarkali was never gonna be my masterpiece. Anarkali was always film school in my mind. It was never, and that's why when you hear critiques like, there's no character development or this is stupid, I'm like, meh, okay. I do get offended when the actors are attacked for the way they look or for their acting. I find that to be very rude and disrespectful. But if someone's like, there's no character development, I'm like, okay, maybe there's not, because I didn't go to like writing school. I don't know how to write a script. So like, I'm just doing everything based on gut, and a few people that want to review it that give me pointers. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So everything you see is just based off gut. So if there's no character development, there's probably not. I'm like, okay, whatever, you know? And it was never to, like I said, be my final masterpiece. This is not like my like big epic film that I'm doing. This is, for me, Anarkali is film school. I learned so much. I built beautiful connections, wonderful connections, and lifetime connections, I hope, with some of the people that I've worked with. And what else can I ask for?
Exactly.
It's a journey. It wasn't like the end goal, right? So
you come back and you get the chance to reshoot it.
Yes.
So what were some things that you did differently?
I think I changed the entire storyline.
Wow.
Yeah.
So really starting from scratch.
Yeah. And then in doing season 2, then we weren't so rushed. So we had more opportunities to bring in other partners and do different things and changed it up. I mean, I think it was rough on the actors because you're not getting paid. And you have to take time off work, and it's exhausting, and you have to do it again. And so
how long of a commitment is it? Is it a couple weeks that you shoot it all over? Or?
Oh my God, girl, no.
Because I'm like, if you just pack in those hours, right? I don't know.
Yeah, season 2 was the same thing. I think we ended up doing we shot a couple of episodes, but then we had to shoot every week again. And that was exhausting. And Anarkali season 2, I developed migraines. I never even had headaches in my life. And then all of a sudden I'm like suffering from major migraines because the stress was so intense, and I was in the middle of my master's at the time.
Oh my goodness.
So it was like so intense, and I had just started working with Rupi as well. So there was just so much going on. But then we wrapped season 2 and I was like, I'm not doing season 3. I didn't want to do it until I had funding. And then we got funding.
And talk about that, getting that funding. Did it come to you after the first 2 seasons?
Literally fell in my
Really? Okay.
So there's a a company called Deas that was founded by Saul Guy. And by fluke, I ran into him. Oh my God, the story is so embarrassing.
Okay.
But like, so we were going to like these film awards, and my friend was taking me along because she's like, okay, you're in this world, you should come, maybe you'll build some connections. And so the film awards, the Canadian Film Awards, were the same day as the final shoot for Anarkali season 2. And so I'm like, I had to leave. Somebody else had to direct the season finale. And I had left to get my makeup done and my hair done. Oh my God. And then I got into an argument with somebody else that was on set, and it was really bad. And we were arguing, and the makeup artist kept screaming at me because she was doing this process called baking.
Oh, yeah.
And so she's like, no, you can't. Your face is getting red, because I was getting angry. And she's like, no, we need to bake you properly. Your face needs to sit. And I was like screaming at the top of my lungs on the phone. And like my makeup was all messed up and cracking. And so she tried as much as she could to like put it all together. And then I was like, okay. And it looked great. And then off we went to the awards. And then I went to the washroom. And then literally like this chunk of makeup came off right here.
Oh no.
So there's like 10 layers of like cover up here. And then there's like, and my skin is a lot of red undertones.
Yeah.
So it just looked like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Did you get a little makeup in your
I
purse?
didn't even have any because I had that stupid clutch that was like this
That
big.
doesn't fit anything.
So
Oh,
I had
no.
nothing. So I'm just like walking around like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. And so in my mind, I'm like, okay, either I'm going to hide or I'm just going to own this half on, half off makeup look.
It's the newest trend.
That's it. And so I just stood there on the side. I was still, I was trying to be confident, but I was still a little bit insecure. And then Saul came and stood beside me, and he's like, what do you do? And just started talking, and I was like trying to hide my face behind he didn't even care. And then he's like, that's so interesting. I'm so interested in the work that you're doing. And then we had a meeting and had a couple of more meetings, and he was kind enough to open up the space of Deas for the Good Indian Bride. And we held an installation there. And it was amazing. And then after that, he said, I want to invest. Let's talk about Anarkali. I want to invest in Anarkali. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was
Here's
really...
a guy that hasn't seen any of your work. And obviously, he's like not the target market. He's not a Indian girl that can relate to the story, right? And he just believed in it.
Yep.
That's what I'm saying. If you create something of quality, it's like you're putting it on the universe, and the universe like will take care of you.
Yeah, it was amazing. And his sister was incredible. She helped me so much with the script. So much, and she was wonderful. Like the team at Deas was just incredible. So that was really nice.
Okay, so you get the funding.
Yeah.
So season 3, you're like, I wasn't gonna do it, but now you're like, I got the funding.
Yeah.
So how did it change things?
It was so funny because Saul said to me, he's like, I'm gonna give you this amount of money. He's like, I could give you more. He's like, but just to grow your budget to this, let's see what you can do with this first. He said, because I guarantee you it's gonna be difficult. And he was right. It was really difficult. Set changed. One of my biggest fears was set was like 98% women all the time. And now we were going to open it up. One of the things that we wanted to do was get like one of the reasons he invested was he really wanted to increase the production value. And so he was like, what about this team? And my fears were always, what would happen if more men are on set? Is that going to change the energy? And unfortunately, it did change the energy, and not in a positive way. And I had to deal with like a lot of weird things on set. And so a lot of questioning of why, like I felt like I constantly had to validate why I was even there and prove myself over and over again. And there was a lot of like, well, how did you get this money? What did you do to get this money? Why would you be given this money? I went to film school. You never went to, like, there was just so much questioning that I feel like if a man had been in my position, nobody would have questioned him. So like if a set, like a shot was being ready and like it was being set up, they wouldn't even ask me, and I'm the director. They would ask the other men on set, yo, does the shot look good?
Wow.
And then men
after you're the one who did everything up until that point.
Yeah. And then and it was a lot of overstepping of boundaries, other men yelling action and yelling cut. And what was a huge struggle for me was I didn't want to be the stereotypical bitch on set. And women of color often get that, like if they're running set. men will be considered to be strong and powerful and women are considered to be bitchy. And I was like, no, I'm gonna run set and it's gonna be soft and like smooth and warm and lovely, which actually is not even my personality, to be honest. I am direct. I speak with zero apologies. I cannot sugarcoat things. I'm not a flowery speaker. I've been often called aggressive when I feel like I'm passionate. So everything I even wanted to do, which was like my own insecurities and my own demons, was already, I think, setting things up to be a struggle. And so when this started happening, I was like completely taken aback. And Nabil Shash, who is the cinematographer in seasons 2 and 3, even pulled me aside and he's like, dude, where's the dragon? Like you're such a dragon on set. Like what happened? But there was just so much going on and things had scaled so rapidly. Like I couldn't even find my inner voice. And so I had said to Shoshana, who is Saul's sister, who was like supporting on set, thank God, I had said, oh my God, this is happening. And she said, this is unacceptable. And I said, oh, well, can we talk to the gentleman after? She's like, no, we're talking to him now. And really pushed me. And then it didn't work out. And so unfortunately, fortunately, that gentleman was removed from set and wasn't allowed to be on set. And then someone else started acting up. Another gentleman started acting up. And then I had to have that conversation now. She had already done it, but it was a lot of support and a lot of allies in, like, with the women. We're like, okay, this is unacceptable. Don't worry, we see this. And even the men, like even Nabil was like, yo, this is unacceptable. You don't deserve to be treated like this.
No.
And that was really kind. And I think that'll never happen on my set again.
So what do you think was the cause of it?
I think I, at that point, was not a strong enough leader like I should have been, to be honest. And had I just been like, you don't like it, fuck you, get the fuck out of here, this is my set, I think things would have looked a lot different. But because I come from this place of like inclusion and okay, let's just create this like warm place, instead of saying like, no, we got a job to do here, you're hired for a job, you're getting paid, so like listen to your boss, I'm your boss, bitch. But I didn't do that.
After you were like, I'm not going to let myself be pushed around then, so did things change on set?
Yeah, it was still difficult,
better?
no
Okay.
doubt, but I mean, they changed. But it was rough. We were shooting, I think, for 11 days straight. Like I was going on 3 hours sleep a day. It was so intense. But it was one of the best learning experiences of my life.
I can see. So season 3 finished up, and obviously a lot of lessons, a lot of changes. So are we thinking season 4? No, we're done. Yeah.
So like
You're like, it was great lessons, but I'm done.
Yeah. I think I want to work on, I mean, Anarkali was great. And like I said, it was film school for me. And it's like, and I'm so grateful for all of the love and all of the viewers and the supporters and the fans. And Gideon and I speak about that often, like how blessed we are. But there's another show that I want to work on, and that's been sitting in me also for a very long time, that feels more in tune to who I am and the woman that I am today. And so, because I wrote Anarkali when I was 19, and although I rewrote it and changed things up, it's still the essence of when people are like, she's so stupid. And I'm like, yeah, of course. That was written when I was so young, and I was naive, and I was a fool for love, and I was trying to figure things out, and I did do a lot of dumb things. And so I don't think, like, it shocks me when people are like, she's such an idiot. Jim, and she's been with that man for so long. And so I wanted to explore that and honor that, and I feel like that was super amazing. And now I want to write and focus on something that feels much more authentic to who I am today.
And do you have that project ready to go? Will we see it soon?
I don't know if we'll see it soon. I'm waiting because I want, just like the universe aligned for Anarkali, I feel like the universe will align for this show when it's ready. And so I'm sitting with it. I want it to be done properly with a budget and like the way I really, like I'd really like to see it being done. Yeah.
But what an amazing experience to do Anarkali. That's why I'm so glad you did it, because I think it really would have, like, I didn't know you before, but I think I can only imagine how much you would grow as a person and figure out what you want to be doing, and also what kind of boss you want to be and what kind of filmmaker you want to be, right? Like it's one thing to go to school, and again, I don't think this is something that should be a barrier to anyone. Like, don't think, oh, I want to do this but I didn't go to school for it, or I didn't. Like, it's like, you know what, sometimes the best education is real life education. Like, just get out there, work for somebody, intern. Like, even the people on the set, they weren't getting paid, but they were learning a lot. And I think it's such a safe space to just even figure out, make your mistakes. So be like, okay, maybe I don't have the training to be an actress, or maybe, you know, a set person, but I'm gonna learn. And I think it's kind of cool to see all the people on the set, how their careers have grown and the paths you've gone. So it's like, it's kind of like school. It's like you guys went to school together and then you graduated. Very, very cool. Okay, so I know we've mentioned Rupi Kaur a couple of times, but in case you don't know who she is, she just happens to be a best-selling New York Times author here from Brampton. So I always think it's great that we have so many amazing women from our area. You're working with her, you're managing her. So, you know, obviously there was that car ride that introduced you, but were you part of her journey from the very beginning?
No.
Okay, so when did you decide, okay, I'm going to go from being filmmaker to now managing? Because again, two different areas, right?
It's the story of my life.
Yeah.
She asked me. She just sort of asked me. I had stayed in touch with her. I obviously was a lot closer to K-Ray. We just stayed in touch, and she would once in a while just bounce ideas off of me. I would check in with her to see if she's okay. We ended up in India at the same time. She came to my cousin's wedding. We chit-chatted a bit, and then I had come back, and then she just called me one day and she's like, hey, I wanted to speak to you about something. And I said, what's up? And she said, I really want to take my career to the next level, and I can't imagine doing it without you.
Wow, what a compliment.
Yeah. And so I was like, okay, cool. Let's just figure it out. What do you need? And in the beginning, it was supposed to be 10 hours a week of just doing like negotiations and just supporting with a couple of things. And then quickly it turned into full time. And then I had to drop out of my master's because my supervisor's like, you need to make a choice. And then I told Rupi, and she's like, well, obviously. And I was like, okay. And and it's been absolutely incredible. And that's what I mean. Like, I never have I'm just like, I'm going to be there. All my work is going to support women. And that's in whatever form that comes in. And it just so happens that this is the journey right now.
So you basically follow your gut. Like, there's something inside
Always.
you just saying, this is the right path for you right now.
Yeah.
That's a good kind of philosophy to follow, because I think that kind of makes you have no regrets then.
Yeah. Like, what? I can't even imagine. Like, oh my God. Imagine I hadn't taken that leap to get into, like, to go to do my master's while I was working for so long, right? And then if I hadn't just taken the leap, I remember having that conversation with my mom. So I think I'm going to drop out of my master's. And my mom's like, what?
Yeah.
After this long, blah, blah, blah.
Exactly.
And I'm like, yeah, I think I'm going to have to drop out, Mom.
But sometimes you just have to take that risk. And I think, I just hope people get that confidence to take that risk, right?
Yeah.
Because I get it. Like, it's tough when you have like family, you want to,
and
like,
here's
you know.
the thing, right? It's assessing the risk as well. So, I mean, I'm lucky I have a family that supports me. They'll support anything I do, right? I could move back home. I could live on my own. I could do whatever I wanted to. So, like, when I decided to do my master's, I had moved home and I was able to do it, like, you know, with, like, even though there was a scholarship, but I wasn't earnings, but I had that privilege. So you assess the risks. And I'm definitely a risk taker. It makes me comfortable taking risks. And I'm not a person that has regrets. I'm not worried about the what ifs or I could have done this or whatever. Yeah. I'm kind of like, life is this beautiful journey. And it's the experiences along the way that have made it so beautiful for me.
What advice would you have for going after it?
I feel like you have to invest in yourself. How can you ask somebody to invest in you if you're not willing to invest in yourself? Put your money where your mouth is. And just do it. I feel like you learn so much. You can take every single, like, you know, like I could watch every single thing available on filmmaking or on directing, but I've never actually directed anything. You're never going to actually know what that looks like. So to just jump in, I mean, I'm the type of person that just jumps into everything. Oh, want to try something? Okay, let's just do it. We'll figure it out. And if it sucks, well, it's not a failure. It's a lesson learned. And then you move on. And I think people are so afraid of failing, but I just don't see things as failures. I just see them as lessons learned, and now we've learned this, and it's just going to equip us for the next thing.
I think it's a lesson learned, but also I think it's part of getting you where you're supposed to be. So you think, oh, well, because the end result I thought was supposed to happen didn't happen, I failed. But actually it's like, but maybe that wasn't the end result. Maybe just the way, like now you're with Rupi, maybe all of this was leading you to becoming like the best kick-ass manager there is for her, so that she's able to take her career to the next level and no one's screwing her over, right? So I think, you know, that's another way to look at it. Be like, even if the end result doesn't happen, if you actually really examine that situation, you will either see another door opening or it's going to lead you to wherever you're supposed to be. You just got to believe in that journey. But that's why I know, like, I have met so many amazing people, and it's just like getting that confidence to say, like, I believe in me. I don't know why we don't have that as adults. As kids, I always say, you know, if you see a kid fall down, the kid doesn't quit. None of us would walk, right? But the kid keeps going because they don't actually know that they're supposed to like give up. That doesn't occur to them. So I think that's really incredible to be able to believe in yourself and say, you know what, regardless of what happens, I'm going to make it. You're in a position where you can help people with their careers too. So I'm sure you've seen so many talented women. What advice do you give them?
I would say to just keep at it. Like, you have to be relentless. It's not, I mean, Rupi is where Rupi is because of her work ethic. And I mean, I always prided myself in my work ethic, but when I saw Rupi, I was like, holy shit, I have to step my game up. This girl is
What did she do differently that you weren't doing? Because I feel like you're a hard worker too.
I am a hard worker, but she's a hard worker and a very smart worker, and she studies her craft. Like, I was so amazed. I remember we ended up, like, I went to England with them when they were on tour, and she'd performed the same show. Like, every night, wherever she performed, it was the same show. But it didn't mean that she didn't spend the day before rehearsing. And even now, her shows, she still rehearses before she doesn't take it for granted. She takes nothing for granted. She's going to be somewhere, she's going to study. Like, she does her homework. She is diligent. She's meticulous in her craft. And there's so much pride. And one of the things I learned with Rupi is she doesn't settle for mediocrity. You know, and I think that's so incredible. And that's why, I mean, like, her work ethic is just incredible.
Also, something that you guys have in common is you're not afraid to push the envelope, where I know even Rupi has covered topics that it's been taken down. Like, I mean, she posted a photo of a girl having her period. And I remember it was like the first time where it was like, what is she doing? Right. But it was like, her response was, this is a natural part. Like, why are you telling me that it doesn't meet your guidelines, Instagram? So it was just really interesting that I see that in both of you, that you're not afraid to be like, okay, well, society's told me that, like, this is something that to be talked about. Let's talk about it. It's affecting women. One of the other things that I think is really boss babe of you is you're proof that you don't need to have the backing of a mainstream, let's say, company, a network, distributor to make your creative dreams come true. So for you, it was self-funding it and, you know, getting the support.
I'm not that. I can't work the system. I don't like somebody telling me what I can and cannot talk about, or that this isn't authentic. And it's like, dude, you don't have my lived experience, so shut up. So I don't think I would do well with a network. I don't want somebody that's not from my culture looking at my script and being like, this doesn't make sense. Or like, you should change this language. So I'm like always been an independent spirit. I think I'll always be an independent spirit. And that's why I usually self-fund all my projects.
I completely agree, but also this is why I think we need more women in the business. We need more women directors. We need women writers, you know, women of color, because what happens typically is, you know, you have this idea, especially for South Asian ideas, and unfortunately a lot of the networks, production companies are run by people not from those backgrounds, so they don't actually get the significance. I'm always like, why do we not have more mainstream South Asian content on television or anything, right? I mean, that's my goal for you, okay? I want to see one day covering a media junket here and having you on the other side like this, because you've brought some Hollywood film out that features all South Asian stories in a cast. So
amazing. That would be pretty amazing. You just saw me in conversation with Amin Dhillon. Please subscribe to watch more videos like this.
I'll take a yellow sip, cause I'm tryna have a better day. Ain't gonna get delirious, just sit here by the bay. Might take a bigger sip, starting to feel okay. I think the party's getting serious, so all the other things can wait. Never never listen to warnings, but there's no reason to worry. Done with my second drink, getting a little tipsy. Ain't gonna get delirious, so party hard till I'm 60.